Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Fat Muscle Project podcast. It is question of the week time, and we've got another good one. Lisa has got a good one for us. Lisa, go ahead.
Our question of the week is low fat. How low is too low? I guess what this person is wanting to know is how low can I drop my fats? It might be someone who's used to a rather low fat diet, maybe from the 90s, or maybe even just bodybuilding, maybe just personal preference. So yeah, what's your take on this?
So, low fat dieting is something, like you said, it was very popular in the 90s. It's not something that, as research has shown, and the industry has grown in the last couple few decades, low fat is not something that's healthy over time, especially for females. So, what I consider low fat in general is less than 50 grams of fat most days of the week. Okay. There's going to be times where you can go a little bit lower to spur some fat loss, or if you want to jack your carbs up a little bit on those days. But just as a rule of thumb for most people, males or females, I like to keep females to 50 grams a day or higher. And I like to keep guys to 60 grams a day or higher, though there are times I will go a little bit lower. So the first case and scenario is if I do a refeed with someone like once a week, which I do, and I need to get their carbs up a little bit higher, I will lower fats in conjunction with that. So a nice example, a female might be eating 150 protein. I might get her up to a 250 carb refeed day, and I might drop her fats down to 30. And I would never do that all days of the week because 30 is too low, because I've seen that impact hormones and things on labs. But for one day a week to get her carbs up, I'm okay with that because carbs boost leptin, fats don't. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of make that switch to help get a boost in metabolic rate and leptin. So that's one scenario. I will drop it down a little bit. If someone is on TRT, you can get by with a little bit lower fats. If you're dieting, it's still not something that I recommend, but you can get by with a little bit lower fat. So maybe 40 grams a day for some people. But in general, 50 to 60 grams, I think is a good standpoint for people. And there's always outliers, Lisa, as you know, I'm sure you'll talk about next. There's always some people, there might be somebody's eating a lot of food, like a lot of food. And if they're only having 50 grams of fat a day, and that's such a small percentage of their overall calories, that's not going to be ideal. So, how do you like to set it up?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the main concern, as you mentioned, is hormonal health when we're talking about low fats, because dietary fats are directly involved in hormone production. So yeah, as you said, we should have a minimum, generally speaking. And I like to kind of either set it by body weight. So saying someone's goal body weight, 33% of that in grams should be the minimum. So the example I would give is if someone weighs 120 pounds, or that's their goal weight, a third of that would be 40. So 40 grams in fat should be the minimum there. I have obviously therefore dropped people below 50, although I do think 50 is a great baseline if you can keep it. But yes, I've had clients on maybe 42, 47 grams of fat sort of thing. Ideally, we don't want to have that as a long-term approach though. But the other way to go about it, or that I learned, would be to not let it drop below sort of 25, sometimes maybe 22, but ideally 25% of overall daily calories. Although, again, if someone is on super, super low calories, let's say 1200 or so for a female, that would almost be too low. So near
Yeah.
that would be obviously 300 calories only from fat, that's not definitely not 40. So yeah, I would rather go by body weight, because that's a little bit more consistent and a little bit more person dependent. Obviously, if we have a larger man, then that might mean that rather maybe 60 grams or 70 grams or so. So that's kind of the formula that I use, although I think 50 to 60 is a good, very general guideline.
Yeah, the other thing too, a couple other things I just thought of is, if you go pretty low fat, you can drop body fat. It's a good way to drop calories and to get some quick fat loss off because your body's not typically used to that. The downside, outside of if you do it for too long, it impacts your testosterone levels, especially. The other downside is you're going to be hungry. So if
Mhm.
you've ever done a more of a carb-based diet, protein should be in there nice and good for all of us, right? For physique enhancement. We're considered high protein for most of the population, but what I consider adequate protein, more carbs and less fat, um, you are going to be hungry because fats slow digestion down. Carbs boost leptin and boost metabolism. So you do get that effect, but it also boosts hunger. So without the
Mhm.
fats to help slow that down, if you're going to do it, which I don't really recommend outside of just some real quick spurts, maybe a week of very low fat, and then you go back for, normal fat amounts, um, you better be adding some vegetables. And then again, then you don't want to skyrocket your fiber intake either because that's not good. So just know that you're going to be very hungry. It's something to where looking at all the labs I have, I'd rather just create a deficit by dropping carbs because carbs don't really impact your hormones when you lower those like dropping fats will for an extended amount of time. So I'd rather see someone go keto than go low fat, honestly, because carbs just aren't that essential to hormones in general like fats are. So anything else that you can think of?
No, I think that's a great final point for sure.
Yeah, if you guys ever have questions, you can, hit us up. All of our information's in the show notes, the description. Drop a question on YouTube if you're watching here. We're glad to help you out. Until next time, we'll see you.